Yeah, that's really it. So how long do you anticipate us going for? Oh, I see it says live.
No longer than an hour at the longest.
Okay,
If we need
cool.
to hop off sooner, we can definitely do that too.
Yeah, I might have to
Um,
just because the kids start getting crazy, but baby's nap time, all that stuff. I'm
I know that.
juggling. I'm juggling.
Well, then let's not waste any time. We're
I
we're
love it.
live now, so we'll go ahead and
Okay.
hop into it so we can
Okay.
maximize our time together.
Cool.
I
Love it.
want to welcome everybody as you start coming in on YouTube to another episode of Advisor of Tomorrow Live. Today I have Anna Njai Konte with us, and we are going to try to cover a number of topics in the short amount of time. So as you can see, she's coming to us from the backyard in Texas, visiting family while the girls are napping. So we're very, very fortunate to have you with us, Anna. I really appreciate it. Real quick, give a little background on yourself. Well, let me do it first. So Anna is the founder of Dare to Dream Financial Planning. She's a host of First Gen Realness, which I love the intro to the podcast. I was listening to it earlier, mainly just to make sure that what you told me is the way to pronounce your name. I remembered it and didn't mess it up,
You
so I
got
cheated.
it.
And most importantly, above and beyond being a great financial advisor and a podcast, you're a mom of 3 girls. I'm a dad of 3 boys, so there's some commonalities, but a little difference. And what really I've been following you for a while, but really what put you on my radar is this tweet, and I will link to it. It's actually your pinned tweet. And it just says, "Hi, I'm Anna. I'm a certified financial planner certificate who works with millennial women of color to build a strong, solid foundation for building wealth." And there's this picture of you, and it's just like, boom, like here I am. This is what I'm about. I help people. And I just felt like that was such a strong post, and it brought so much positivity to you. And again, strength. I just loved it. So I was like, all right, I got to keep on following Anna more closely. And then come to find out, with friends like Emlyn and Desarte and overlap. So that's my real quick intro. I'm going to shut up and let you introduce yourself to the group, and then we'll hop right into it.
Thanks so much for the introduction, Justin. And I would call listening to the podcast doing your homework, not cheating. I'll give you gold star for that one.
Thank you.
So my name is Ananjay Conte. I am the founder of Dare to Dream Financial Planning, which is like a virtual fee-only financial planning firm. And like Justin mentioned, I really work with women of color in their 30s and 40s. I have a subspecialization also for business owners, but my goal is really to bring more financial empowerment to women of color. And I also, we'll talk about this a little bit more, but it's really important to me because I feel like when regular good people have more money, like the world will just be a better place. So I feel like that's one of my small contributions to the world.
I love it. And that's why I get so excited about highlighting and bringing other great advisors on whatever little platform I have, because I feel like if other good advisors are being found by great people and they get better financial planning, then not only is the world better off, but I also think our profession, which we have our own things to overcome, gets better as well. So a similar type of view on things, just mine thinking of advisors while you're thinking of your clients. So real quick, let's dive in. One of the things I really like about your firm messaging, so we're gonna get to branding towards the end, is your desire to help your clients get more out of their lives. I did a big rebrand, as some people know, and purpose is a big part of what my firm is about, helping our clients find and live their purpose. And that requires a different type of financial planning. So I want to start back with, at what point in being an advisor did you decide you're going to help people get more out of their lives rather than just CFP, curriculum 101, retirement, college, saving? When did you decide that? And then what does that look like at your firm? How do you accomplish that with your clients?
So it's funny because that was actually one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to start my firm, right? And so I'll take a step back and talk a little bit about my background too, just to give people some perspective. But so I'm a first generation American, right? My mom is Puerto Rican. My father's from the Gambia. And, I am so blessed that I have so many really strong women in my family. But I felt like so many of the people in my family lived very disempowered lives. You can go into a lot of different reasons why, but I do think one of those is financial limitations, right? They felt like they did not have the wherewithal to live a better life. And once I started to see that there were options besides just resigning yourself to live that way, and I took those steps for myself, I thought, okay, what better way to serve people, to wake them up to do that more than to help them with their finances? Because I'm sure you've seen this in your own professional career, Justin, but there are so many people who live in financial fear and they don't take actions to have the life that they want because they don't really understand the numbers and they don't understand what's possible for them. And so I feel like that's my way to contribute, and to just like have more people living more joyful lives.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think about our role as advisors. It's great to help people manage the numbers and figure those things out. But if we can actually help them make some changes to lead them to a happier, more fulfilled life, that's game changer. Like, it's great to help the numbers, but if you have a positive impact and make somebody live a better life, to me, that's awesome. And that's what excites me about it. Plus, usually that type of planning requires some creativity. And I've become a more creative person over time to figure out, how do we make this work with the constraints or with this new type of goal that we have? How do we think outside the box with your plan? It's me that excites me as an advisor.
Totally.
So
And can I add something? Sorry to cut you off,
oh,
but
totally.
I think the thing about the financial advisory industry, as you know, there are so many online calculators. So people can really run the numbers for just about anything. I think our value is that prompting them to think bigger about their goals and their dreams and their values. And I think also to figure out those trade-offs, because the calculators really don't do that, right? And to think creatively, as you mentioned, I think that's really where we add our value, and that's what I have the most fun doing too. Saying to like a client coming to me and saying, I don't know, I don't think I'll be able to do this, like if I'm lucky I'll be able to do this, and then I'm able to move things around, the puzzle pieces, and figure out a way to make it happen for them.
I've been quoting this line a lot to clients recently, and Morgan Housel brought it back up inside the AGC at a visit, but I forget the name of the advisor that's coined this technically, but personal finance is more personal than it is finance. So that, we live in this spreadsheet world, and while there's a spreadsheet answer for everything, it's not always the right answer for our clients. And I think it takes an advisor with a certain level of confidence to go with the personal recommendation over the spreadsheet recommendation, knowing that sometimes even if the personal isn't the most efficient, it's what the client's going to stick to. So a beautifully drawn out spreadsheet answer that a client doesn't follow is worthless. But if we have a less than optimal, but they stick with it, then they're probably still going to follow it and reach their goals, which is the end goal. We want to help them reach their goals. And if they understand the trade-offs, then I think as an advisor, we're in a position to tilt towards personal over the finance side.
100%. And I would say, I'm sure we'll talk about this too, but for me, one of the things that I see time and time again is clients will come to me, either they've had an advisor in the past or they've tried to find an advisor in the past, and they've been shamed for taking less than optimal financial decisions. And so they feel ashamed and they don't want to deal with the financial services industry, right? And so like, because of my target clients, women of color, oftentimes we are working with our extended family. We are financially supporting our extended family. And granted, at the end of the day, that sending money out and not investing it and saving it in your own accounts is going to be less than financially optimal, right? But having that sensitivity and adding the personal in, like you mentioned, really is the differentiator to whether somebody feels like, they shouldn't bother, or this is not for them, financial planning is not for them, when I really emphatically feel like it's for everybody.
So knowing that there's a lot of advisors that haven't quite adopted this approach to planning, and that we want to encourage those advisors listening and watching to open their eyes to it, without walking us all the way through your process, what does that process look like in order to get your clients to really understand what it is that they want, what's most important? Because I don't know if you found this to be the case, but I feel like a lot of times our clients come to us initially with surface level goals. I want to retire, I want to buy a house. And those are important goals. But if we're really trying to help people live lives of purpose and get more out of life, they've got to dig deep and really be honest with themselves with what they value. How do you do that?
Yes, that is so important. So, I'm a millennial. I'm going to put a giant asterisk at the end of this this statement, but I think we as a generation tend toward the woo woo, right? And so I do a lot of things that I think are non-traditional, or I know are non-traditional with my clients. So I do values exercises with them, right? I have money mindset, like questionnaires with them, because once again, like I said, I deal with communities of color mostly. And a lot of times, even if we've made it, we have a lot of issues with financial scarcity and anxiety. Or we have other like baggage around money that I think is unique to us. And so we'll start to unpack some of those things. And then also I do some meditations for some clients, like do a meditation and really envision what you want your life to look like. I want you to tell me specifically, like 3, 5, 10 years, like if you are really taking all the shackles off of your brain, what would you want to do? And that's the thing. I think it's one thing to say, okay, I don't think I can do this in the way that I want, or in the time horizon that I want, from the facts and from the numbers. But it's another thing to just say, I can't do that before you even try,
Right.
So we have a lot of conversations like that at the outset.
I like the idea of asking them what do they envision out of their life. I went through an exercise where I had to write down everything from your alarm goes off. What's the first thing that you do? Who are you having breakfast at? Where is it at? What's the weather like? Just paint this picture. And I was not allowed to have any buts about it. So yeah, I would love to be somewhere warm and close to a beach, but I have kids. No buts allowed. What would that look like? And then from there, you can scale things back to what's realistic. But if you don't even know what your dream situation would be, how can you even try to see if that is even possible? So I think that's a great exercise. I also think that sounds like you lead with a lot of empathy to understanding
Yeah.
their situations and some of the limitations they may have because of family and other types of things. And, being a largely male profession, and empathy is not something that comes easy to men, or they just don't show it very well.
You're just socialized not to be empathetic. That's my 2 cents.
Right. So I think that that's another thing, that if this is something that resonates with you as an advisor, and obviously you can successfully build a business this way, looking at what you've been able to do, that you've got to come with empathy to understanding what's going on, and not try to shame anybody for decisions they've made or situations they find themselves in, and really be a listener and try to help them out.
Yes, absolutely.
So as far as your process and that desire to, help your clients live the lives that they want, is there any more like bigger picture to why you want to do that, other than just what we've already talked about? Or is there more to it?
I think part of it too is like I'm on a quest to do that myself,
Mm-hmm.
right? I spent a lot of time in my early career feeling very limited, feeling very like I didn't have many options. Now, granted, I graduated college in the Great Recession, which was not the best time to be graduating. So there were actually practical limitations to what I had as available to me. But I think I took it too far. And because I'm on that quest, I want to show that to other people, that you can live a life of purpose and feel like lit up and excited and energized by what you're doing every day. And I also want to show it to my kids. You mentioned them. I haven't talked about them, so bad mom over here. But I have 3 daughters, and I want them to feel like they have wings. You know what I mean? And like I'm also very practical, very realistic person. I grew up in New York City, right? Like I get real life, but I think that you have to have a little bit of that magic and that dream in life.
So question, do you feel as if you've successfully, or you're on your path towards finding and living your purpose?
Totally. I feel so like, even I do. Yes, that's the long. I just feel like I wake up every day and I'm like excited about what I'm going to do. Even some of the drudgery. And I finish a long day and I might be tired, but I'm grateful. I'm just grateful for that I get to spend my time doing what I do. And I feel like I'm contributing. I feel like I'm helping. Just the feedback I get from my clients or from people out in the world that have, listened to my podcast, or, follow me on Instagram or Twitter or whatever. Like the feedback I get makes me feel like I'm on the right path that way.
I'm glad you went deeper, because I was going to ask you to go deeper, and I have a reason for asking that. So like I'm 15, almost 16 years in to the game of being a financial advisor. And when I launched my firm, that was, I think, the major step towards finding my purpose within being an advisor. And I kind of have stumbled around the last 4 years, have managed to build up my business and kind of find my way. And now I know my purpose as a financial advisor and also as somebody who wants to help other financial advisors. And what you described is what I feel. And the reason I'm so excited to help other people find their purpose is because I know once you find it and you begin following that path towards it, how great things are. Like, to your point, you wake up
The
every day
best
excited,
feeling.
even if it's not something you want to, you're still excited because Tyrone and I always talk about destiny steps. When you're making destiny steps, not every step's going to be pleasant, but it's still a step along your path to destiny, and it's exciting. Once you feel that, then you want everybody to experience that, or at least try to help them experience that. So I just wanted other people to hear why it's kind of exciting. Once you find what you're supposed to be doing, you've dug deeper personally. Now you want others to feel that, and that becomes the mission behind the planning. So I thought that's where you were going to go, and I'm glad you did, because it made me feel confident in what my thoughts are.
We're on the same page.
Well, let's go. I have no smooth transition here. Let's go into, as you've built your business and we know kind of how you're helping your clients, you have a very defined niche. I can't go niche quite yet. I'm still saying niche. You have a
Don't
defined
let people shame you on the pronunciation.
How has that helped you and your business grow?
It's been such I got to tell you, so let me go back to before I did that.
Yeah.
So I launched my firm. I kind of knew who I wanted to work with, but I'll be honest, I was kind of scared to come out. You mentioned that tweet. I was really scared, and I worked with my business coach to try and figure out how I can message that without turning off people and whatever. And she coached me on that because I was really fearful of it. And the response was overwhelming. And I feel like I was just saying to my husband this morning, there's so many opportunities that have come to me, I think, because I step out boldly and say that, right? That I think would not have come to me otherwise. I'm not gonna lie, it was intimidating. And I felt like, I was going to be, you get into that scarcity mindset. I think anybody with a niche gets like that, right? They feel like, oh, I'm turning away business. But at the end of the day, you're picking up pennies to like, and you're skipping the nickels, right? Or the dimes or the dollar bills. You're trying to get everything. And at the end of the day, I think we are doing this so much of our lives. We're spending so much of our lives at work and building our businesses. So why not work with people that you really feel passionate about helping? And so that was kind of an easy decision for me, but it was hard to put it out there in the world.
Right. And how has that niche allowed you to be successful with the podcast and the content that you create? Has that made it easier for you?
I think clients feel that I understand them and that I'm for them. I think because like I mentioned earlier, I've had a lot of people come to me and had poor experiences with either past advisors or people that they've gone to for consultations to try and work with them.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like they just feel more comfortable. They feel like I understand their issues. My messaging speaks to them. Like, I mean, I just signed a new client this week, and on our introductory consultation, she said, I read your website and I started crying. And that tells me that I'm on the right, and I don't want to make people cry, but just to feel very seen and understood is something that I think the vast majority of financial services just ignores that, and they discount how important that is. It's beyond marketing. It also deepens the relationship with the client. And I meant to mention earlier when you were talking about empathy, like I said, there's so much commoditization of our industry and the things that we do at times, right? Portfolio management, and, there are calculators abound, but empathy really builds a relationship, and it really allows them to stay with you, I think, long term.
Anything more on your niche?
Yeah. So I mentioned I work with women of color who oftentimes are business owners, or they are in a full-time employment, and they have a side hustle or something like that they want to scale to grow and have that be their full-time gig. Mm-hmm. So I think the fact that I am one understanding of their issues as women of color is huge. I think also, though, this is a huge movement in our society. Like, Black women are 42% of new businesses started in 2019 were by Black women, right? it's everywhere. If you look, you'll see it now. Now that I mentioned it to you, Justin, you'll see it everywhere. But this is a huge thing. And I think there's such a need for solid advice for people that is also culturally sensitive and targeted to that unique need, right? So somebody who wants to try and figure out how to pay themselves from their business, how they want to try and put more money away for retirement, use that as a way to reduce their tax burden, all of those things that, all advisors know how to do this, but I think the focus on those two things has really been a game changer for me.
I also think you being a business owner is also a big help as well. So
Yeah,
not
because
only do
I'm thinking about it.
not only do you understand where they're coming from a social component, but also from you've built a business, you've been there, you had to figure out how to pay yourself. So
Yeah,
not only are you the expert, but you've walked where they've walked, and I've got to imagine that offers them some comfort.
totally.
All right, next non-smooth transition, so we can keep on moving forward. But I'm so excited that you're able to squeeze this in situations, right? Because I know
Oh
it's
my
not
God, I'm so excited to do this. Please, I'll make it happen.
well. Going back to that tweet and everything that I've noticed as I followed you, everything about you, to me, and hopefully you feel this way, presents strength. That you are a strong woman, you are a strong advisor, you're a strong business owner. How were you able? It sounds like you had a coach help you, but how are you able to portray this image of strength when the majority of our profession is probably trying to knock you down, whether it is intentionally and they're actually saying and doing things, or there's just those barriers and those silent things that a white man in the business doesn't know and understand unless you have people who open your eyes and show it to you. So how are you able to build that strong brand? Because I think that there are a lot of other advisors that are going to be coming up that are going to look like you, that would love to be able to emulate that. They've got you as the role model, but you still have to go do it yourself. So how are you able to build this brand that shows and signifies such a strong person?
I mean, I think I am a very strong personality, period. So that helps. But I think, my coaching has been really instrumental in showing and teaching me to show up like really unapologetically as myself, right? So I have a personal coach, a life coach, and I also have a business branding coach that helps me with that. And that it's been a progress. I think some of it is maturity, right? I wouldn't have done this at 24. Now that I'm in my mid 30s, I would not be doing that. I wouldn't have had the self-confidence to do that, right? And then also I would, frankly, being a business owner and running my own show allows me to do that. If I were at a wirehouse, I would not be speaking out as loudly as I am. And I'm very grateful for that. I feel very fortunate to that because I am not somebody that holds their tongue very well. So um, this works out for me. This suits my personality, right? But I think, you know, once again, going back to my why, I want to serve as an example for my daughters. And I think the societal messaging is very much that, women and Black women and brown women should be quiet and not rock the boat too much. And I was fortunate that I had parents that really instilled that value that I can speak up and my voice matters as well. Um, and I just lean onto that. So I feel like showing that to my daughters and living that every day is really important because more than anything, they're my legacy. You know what I mean? They're gonna show up as they are, and hopefully they turn into great little humans, which they're already great little humans. They grow up into great big humans, and they walk through life like that. That's really what my goal is.
And that was one of my questions kind of later on to end on was, as you do all of this, you're a role model for future financial advisors that come into the profession, male or female, doesn't matter. But you also have these three little girls that are looking up at mom and seeing her as a business owner, being out there, putting herself out there, you know, putting confidence out there. I was gonna, how much of the motivation is them. So it sounds like it's a lot of it, which is the same for
A
me.
lot.
I
Yeah, I'm
hope that
sure.
the boys watch me and see, the willingness to take some risks and go out there and put yourself out there. But also for me, how, I treat people as well. Like I want them to see that because I want them to be good people who take care of people and put others first. And I feel like if I can live that through my work, then they're seeing that and they're hearing about it all the time. So, but I don't know. I feel like there's a little bit difference between my three boys and your three daughters looking up at their parents. I think it's the image coming from you to your daughters is stronger than the image to me and my boys, because my boys look around and see success everywhere, where it's harder for your daughters to see that. And the fact that mom is the
Totally.
superhero doing it, I just think is awesome. And part of the reason
Thank
I wanted to
you.
put this in there is I just, you know, what is it? Joyner Lucas has a song about Will Smith and talking about giving out roses while people are alive and letting them know. And I don't know if you realize that that is the image I think that is out there, that you do have these daughters and you're a good example. And if you didn't know that that is the image you're putting out there, I just wanted you to know that at least I see what it is that you're doing in the role model you're playing for your daughters as well. And I just wanted to let you know to keep doing and double down even more, because you're having impact on our profession, but also for them as well. So that's
Oh my God.
me trying to give you a rose kind of in
You're
that
gonna you're gonna
spirit.
make me cry, Justin. You're gonna mess up my makeup.
All right, well, we'll go back. Let's go back to branding then, and
Okay,
we
cool.
can leave that. But I
Make
did
me
want you
less
to know.
emotional.
Well, speaking of emotions, let's stay emotions, but not that type of emotion. Putting yourself out there for anybody is scary, and we've already talked about being a woman of color in the business makes it even scarier. What were some things that you were able to do? Was it hiring the coaches, or how did you combat that fear that we all have the first time we post a blog or the first time we do a podcast? How did you overcome that?
If I'm honest, it is hard. It hasn't really gotten that easier. What I usually do is I post it and then I go hide for like 2 hours. I don't look at my phone. and and I like go scrub a toilet or something, like something that's completely hands on. I can't look at my phone. It hasn't gotten easier, but I think really just remembering. My coach said to me once, she said, "Who are you hurting when you don't show up? When you choose not to show up?" And I was like, "Oh, dang." That's good. So I always remember that so much. I'm like, I wish I had somebody like me 10 years ago, right? And so, I wish that my mom, who's like incredible and she's just like my absolute hero, I wish somebody like my mom had somebody like me 30, 40 years ago. And I think she would have had a vastly different life. And so that's what really motivates me and keeps me powering through the vulnerability and the fear of being seen, which I think we all have, like you said.
Mhm. So how did you first get started? Overcoming all those emotions, getting comfortable. I didn't go back to figure out, did you start the writing or the podcast first, but how did you dip your toes into telling your story, which has ultimately helped you develop your brand?
Yeah, I think it was mostly blogging. I like to write a lot, so I did blogging a lot. That was sort of my first foray. And then I started doing some podcast features actually. I didn't start my podcast until about 6 months after I launched my firm. So it was a bit after, but I think just beginning to put myself out there, like I said, doing a couple podcast interviews, even doing like some industry groups. Like, there are a lot of people with small masterminds and those kind of things. You mentioned Emlyn. Emlyn put me in one as well. And doing those kind of things and having those conversations making me also reinforce the fact that I had a unique voice and I had something to contribute with that.
Mhm.
And that was really impactful for me to start to get the ball rolling. But
So,
also, I have like this amazing group of people supporting me too. Like my husband's amazing. I've talked about him. My mom is amazing. My dad, and my friends, like they're always cheering me on, and that gave me the strength to feel like I should continue putting myself out there like that.
is there anything you would do differently when it comes to telling your story, or any mistakes that you made that maybe others could avoid, learning from what we did wrong so they don't make the same mistakes?
I feel like I was very fearful of being on camera at first. I was very fearful of, I was so caught up in like the font and the colors and the logo and all of that stuff, which really, they tell you this, but until you see that it doesn't matter that much, it really does not matter. Granted, you need to have a nice website and stuff like that's not, um, it's not to totally discount it, but it's not the be all end all of it. And I think I wish I would have spent a lot less time being caught up on that, and just put myself out there.
But there's the saying, perfection is the enemy of great, and that, or even good, I forget what it is, but trying to get the perfect font and the perfect image prevents people from hitting publish, which is really what matters. If you have good content, you get a pass for not having the ideal color scheme or whatever it might be. And the reality of it is, those things can be updated with time. You can rebrand, refresh as you fine tune those things. But the key is to not get
Totally.
hung up. which is great advice. Um, Anything that you've learned about yourself through the process that, sometimes we do these things to grow our business and to educate people, but in turn we learn a little bit more about ourselves.
Yeah, I've learned that I always knew I was hardworking and I was very resourceful. But that's gone to a new level as a business owner, as I'm sure you realize too, right? Like you just got to figure stuff out. And also being able to come back from messing up things, I think has been one of the things that's been really crucial. Like you're going to log into a meeting and you realize the person doesn't have the link, right? Like, or, I don't know, you didn't send the attachment in the email, like little stuff like that, that I think we have a tendency to beat ourselves up about and make it mean something like, oh, we're stupid or we're not good at this. Like getting beyond that has been very helpful. And being able to bounce back towards that. Cause I used to have perfectionist tendencies before, and I like things to be done well. That's still something that I feel very strongly about, on being excellent and doing things well and striving for excellence, not ordinary, but, I think, beating myself up over a typo is not going to help anything. So I just move on. I'm like, oops, whoops, moving on.
I think I think there's only so many areas that we can strive for perfection. And as an advisor, I think our strive for perfection needs to be with like the planning and the recommendations. Like there's no margin for error there because now we're dealing with people's finances and future. But if we forget the attachment or we misspell something in an email to a client, like that's one of the ones where you can circle back and say, whoops, it's been a long day or whatever it might be. And you get a free pass on that because it doesn't really make a big difference. So if we only have so much perfection in us, it's got to be filtered on our clients, and those other
Yes.
things can be not so perfect. And I think that when you get into the content side of things, some of those
Mhm.
imperfections bring a level of authenticity and genuineness that
Yes,
people actually like. Like if your girls
totally.
woke up and came out, like that would be something that people might get excited about. But to me, that's
Honestly,
real life, and that just makes this
yeah,
conversation even more real.
totally. Funny story. I mean, we're all on lockdown or for the most part, right? And the other day, my 3-year-old, luckily my camera was off, but I was on a conference call and like she walked in after the shower and didn't have any clothes on. I was like, oh, well, this is what we're doing. Like she escaped her dad and she ran into the office. It's life. Things happen. And I think it also humanizes you. But one thing somebody said to me once, like life is just juggling, right? But you have plastic balls and you have glass balls, and you need to know which ones you can't drop.
That's a great,
Right? I was like,
great.
dang, this is good. So like for me, the ones I can't drop are my service to my clients, right? Like I don't, just like you mentioned, also my family, like, and my health. Those are the three, like my three non-negotiable. I will never drop these. The rest of it, I mean, I like to keep them up in the air. But I'm not going to kill myself if one drops.
I don't know if you've ever had a chance to meet Phil Pearlman. He's out on the East Coast. Phil's awesome.
Okay.
He's got a background in psychology, and he and I did a podcast, and he talked about these 3 letters that he has written on a note card, and it's HFW: health, family, work. Those are the 3 non-negotiables, and in the order that is the most important. And I gave him a little bit of grief, saying, "Well, for me, it would actually be family, then health." But he's like, "No, if I'm not in as best as I can be, then I can't be the best for my family." But it's kind of the same thing of the balls. Like these are the 3 things that I won't negotiate on, and the work would be the client side of things. So
Yeah,
I think that's
totally.
smart. We got to identify what's most important, and then know that the other things will fit in where they fit in.
Totally.
All right, I'm gonna move us to the final question because I don't want the girls waking up without their mom. But I think we've covered everything I wanted to cover.
Cool.
So the final question, a lot of what I want to stress for advisors centers around this concept of developing a personal brand. And I know that branding is a buzzword today, but for us, especially those advisors that are on the independent side, or we have our own books of business, no matter where you might be, the personal branding is just telling your story. It's who you are, it's your reputation that's just told over and over and over. So when you think about yourself, the essence of branding is something that you see, believe, or feel through your own unique lens. So basically, you see something that other advisors or other business women are missing. What do you see differently from your peers that separates you from the rest?
I think the biggest thing is like trying to be somebody else. And I'm going to put a giant caveat to this, that I understand, like, I'm a Black woman living in America. I understand that this is not easy. I have this battle with my husband all the time. But that's a different story. And he is very much himself, but we've been socialized to like make ourselves small, and like not rock the boat and not speak too loud and not show up as our authentic selves. And I worked in financial services for 8 years before I launched my firm. So I get it. I get that when you're the only Black or brown person in a room, it's really hard to show up as yourself, right? I completely understand. But if you are in the position where you own your own firm, and you have that independence and that freedom to speak your mind, like, why wouldn't you use that? I think that we worry about a lot about what people are going to think, or we think also that people don't care what we have to say. And I think both of those things are really doing people a disservice. Going back to what I said, my coach says, like, who are you harming by not showing up and doing what you're called to do, you know and it's hard, and it's a day by day practice, right? Like showing up more as yourself. But um that's the one thing that I see so much vanilla, like boring stuff. I'm sure you see that. I mean, you look at this stuff more, Justin, but like, I often look at people's websites. I'm like, I know nothing about you or what you like or what you're like looking at your social media. I don't even know what you look like if I look at your social media or your website, right? Like, there's maybe one picture of you hidden away somewhere. And that you might be an excellent practitioner and you might have like your heart's in the right place with it, but people are not going to resonate with you as much, and then they're not going to be as attracted to you, and that limits your business growth as well, like just from a practical standpoint.
Mm-hmm. I did a group conversation about selling and the discomfort around being considered a salesperson in finance, which I don't think we are. But part of the conversation was we're always selling ourselves. So once you realize that what you're doing, to your point, who are you not helping if you don't show up? But I also think advisors all need to be good marketers, because if you aren't marketing yourself, and whether that is content, it doesn't have to. There's multiple ways to market yourself, but you have to tell your story and let people know that you're there so that they can find you. I agree with you. The more personal you make it, the more you humanize yourself. You used that word earlier, the better, because now people get to see whether or not they're going to like to work with you, and now you start to build this business of people that you want to be around. If you do a good enough job, when a client emails you, they already know they want to work with you. You're on the other side of the phone or email or whatever, or Zoom, trying to figure out, do I want to work with this person? And that's a totally different spot than most of us are when we start our careers. So I think that I would agree, and I'm glad to have another person who kind of is preaching the same message, that you need to humanize and put yourself out there, and you have to figure out what level you're comfortable with, as far as how much of your personal. For whatever reason, I have no problem putting the boys out there and incorporating them. If that's not you, you don't have to do that. But there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with letting people know that you have kids. They have 3 daughters, and they're a big part of your life. Like, you don't have
Yeah.
to show them, but you can talk about them still.
Yeah.
And working with women in business, that's going to
Mhm.
make them draw more closely to you, because a lot of them might be moms too. So now you know
Yeah.
that part of what they're going through.
Yeah. 100%. I agree totally. Yeah. I'm not like somebody, I am a pretty private person by nature, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, somebody could know me for many years and not know that much about me because I'm not like just putting it out there like that. But at the same time, like, I'm a human and I have preferences and I have things I like and I tell jokes and whatever. So you can choose what you share. Like you said, I share some. For example, I don't really post pictures of my kids, but that's my personal preference. But at the same time, like you said, people know I have kids. I talk about them. My clients know my kids, right? Maybe not like everybody out on the internet, but like, my clients know my kids. Chances are they've seen my kids on Zooms over the last 6 months, and talked to them about Frozen or Moana or whatever that they've been talking about. And you share that part of you, because I think like it's the profession we're in forces people to be very vulnerable with us, right? If we're doing it right.
Mhm.
And so if they feel like they're being vulnerable with a robot or like somebody who's perfect also, like, has all their stuff together all the time and never has a hair out of place, and like, is just 100%, never has a bad day, or never feels like their kids are driving them up the wall or whatever, then it's hard to be open with somebody like that, you know?
Yeah, by us showing a little bit of our own vulnerability, it opens
Mhm.
them up. It gives them permission to be vulnerable with us. And our
Totally.
vulnerability is a little different. Like we're probably not going to disclose all of our finances with them, but if we
No.
can give them a little bit of us on the inside look,
Yeah.
that'll encourage them as well. Oh, I don't think I've really ever thought about it that way, but that's a great point.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, there's something about listening to people, right? Like listening is a huge part of what we do, but also like because I deal with a lot of like mindset and values and those kind of life planning things like we talked about earlier. I think a lot of times people, they caveat, my clients will caveat like, "Oh, I know this is stupid, but," and I usually use that as an opportunity because I feel like they want to talk more about something, but they might not feel comfortable, or they feel like I'm going to judge them. So one, I usually always say this is a no shame, no judgment zone, but also I try to share something when I see that kind of trepidation. I try to share something about myself or my past or issues I've had personally with finances or in my family, so that they feel less like they're some kind of alien that's weird, and that, this is a unique issue that they only have, because that comfort also makes them feel better and removes some of the shame around it.
I'm glad we let this conversation continue to go because I think there was a huge best practice just in what you said. I think that as an advisor, developing our listening skills, whenever we hear a but, that's a time to circle back and dig a little deeper. There's more behind that but than what it looks like on the surface. And that's a
Yes.
trigger to go back and uncover more and push a little bit harder and give them the space to finally open up about it. Because I think that once you get through that, you're going to open up something very meaningful. So I think that, if anything, that might be this has been an awesome conversation. That may be the one practical thing that somebody can walk away with and change the relationships they have with their clients tomorrow.
Totally. And I would say, just for all the advisors that are out there listening, seeing this now or seeing this later, the biggest thing I want people to remember is that, like, the client knows what they want and what they want to achieve better than you, right? And they know what's going to work for them better than you. So really listening that way and digging deeper, like Justin said, is like if you take, just do a sample meeting, right, and do that a couple times and see the difference between that and your other meetings if you haven't been doing it already. I feel like you're going to see that it's night and day, and it really deepens the relationship with the client.
Well, I think that is a great spot to end the conversation. So, Anna, where can everybody listening follow you? Drop the social media, websites, whatever you want to drop, and I'll have them in the show notes so people can click easy to get them. But where can we find you?
Yeah, so my website is daretodreamplanning.com. And I usually, in terms of social media, I just hang out on Instagram and Twitter, and my handle's the same. It's at ANJIEKONTE.
All right, I'll link to that. I'll even link to your personal page as well because that's where they can find the podcast. So I want them to do
Yes.
that as
Oh,
well.
you're right. You're right. I forgot about that part.
All right, that's all right. Your brand coach is not going to be very happy that you forgot
I
to drop
know.
that as well.
She's like, "Why do you have multiple websites? You need to have one one thing."
I've got multiple as well, so you're doing it right in my eyes. Uh,
Okay, cool.
well, Anna, I thank you very much for taking time on your little getaway to spend some time with us today, and then have safe travels back home when you guys head back next week.
Thank you.
And look
Thank you
forward
so much.
to staying in touch with you over time and keeping eyes on what you're doing.
Me too, Justin. This has been so fun, and I always love to like chat with like minds. So this has been great. Our friend Emlyn has been, shout out to Emlyn, has been talking you up for ages, and I've been wanting to have a chance to chat with you and have a conversation. So this has been wonderful.
Yeah, and thanks for doing it publicly. And Emlyn's actually going to be coming on in November. I just texted him the other day. So
Nice.
he'll be on the pod, or he'll be on the show as well. So, all right, we'll
Nice.
get back to family. Thank you
Thank
again,
you.
everybody. Thanks for watching and listening. Subscribe, like all that stuff you know you're supposed to do. And Anna, thank you again, and we'll see everybody next episode.